Good afternoon. Welcome to The Pulse. And this afternoon, MPs return to Parliament today for the first time since the elections, and already there is drama as a minority dressed in black and red attire saying it is mourning the death of Ghana's democracy following the rejection of the election 2020 results. We'll take you to the House for an update on business there today. Also coming up shortly, NDC demands forensic audit of the 2020 presidential and parliamentary election results as it prepares to contest the outcome of last week's polls in court. And the Ghana Journalists Association condemns increasing cases of social media threats, abuses and harassment of journalists who reported the 2020 elections. We'll tell you what the implications are on your election headquarters. Thanks for choosing us, your home of credible, independent and fearless journalism. And the election headquarters is an association with Petrosol. Clean fuel in full quantity is always a delightful experience. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. McDonald's Shipping and Logistics Limited, your total logistics partner. Part Eva Limited, your home of modern furniture. DDP Outdoor Limited, 7 great brands. Festiva, adding flavors to your life. Wutriye Lotteries, 787, Ghana's premier and biggest jackpot lottery. HEPA Plus mixture for your general well-being. This is The Pulse. We'll be back with more. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin in Parliament because minority MPs are today dressed in red and black in Parliament to mourn what they say is the death of democracy in Ghana. They say they are also mourning the death of 5 Ghanaians during the just ended polls as the House resumes sitting today following the December 7 elections. Minority spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa insists the NDC won a majority of 138 seats in the next Parliament.
Struggling to have it. They need him so they can get to the magic number 138. We have 138 already. Techiman South belongs to us. Senate West belongs to us. We have won convincingly. Check the presidential result, over 6,000. And we've put out the margin of victory for the parliamentary. More than 1,000 votes. More than 1,000 human beings. We have won a majority, and that majority will not be stolen. Enough of using weapons, misusing the military to overturn results. We will not accept.
The black you are wearing today, what exactly are you trying to put out with that?
We are mourning the death of democracy in our country, the discredited election that the Electoral Commission has conducted, a confused Electoral Commission, a discredited Electoral Commission, clearly in cahoots with our opponents to rig the elections and to put out numbers that don't add up. That is what we are mourning. We are also mourning the use of violence in our election, the militarization of elections in this country. We are mourning the killing of 6 unarmed civilians who were only seeking to protect their votes. We are mourning the wanton abuse of state power to arm twist, force electoral officers to declare results in the favor of the ruling government. We are saying that we will not accept this despotic and tyrannic tendency, which is unknown in Ghana. I mean, Ghana has become such a beacon of democracy. Since 1992, we have been celebrated by many, many countries. And you have read all the Observer Mission reports. The European Union, the Commonwealth, ECOWAS, they have not minced words that this election has fallen short of the litmus test. It's not transparent. Collation has been a disaster. This is not free and fair elections. These elections has been conducted in fear. The collation has been done with brute force, seeking to overturn the verdict of the people. And we are saying that we stand in solidarity with our people, with the party. We are not going to accept these results, and we demand that justice prevails. That's why we are mourning the state of our democracy. We are mourning the end of credible elections in Ghana. We are mourning the use of brute force that has led to 6 unarmed civilians losing their lives. We are mourning the attempt to deny us of a majority in the 8th Parliament, which we have won fair and square. And we are sending clear notice that we will not accept this tyrannic and despotic conduct of the New Patriotic Party working in cahoot with Diajin Mensa appointed Electoral Commission. We will not accept it.
The two constituencies you mentioned.
Meanwhile, NPP MP for Adentan Yaboabian Samoa is insisting the NPP want a clean mandate of the people for both presidential and parliamentary.
That's the second most decisive win ever. So there's no doubt about His Excellency the President's win. So we are here for the long haul. The NPP is here for the long haul because the people of Ghana have accepted us, have decided that we are the ones who can run the country in the right manner. We are grateful to Ghanaians for that. Yes.
From what you've gathered so far, it's been almost 4 days. What went on?
I think the postmortem is being done internally. The party itself will do a local postmortem, and that will feed into a national. Because what we do after every election, win or lose, is to set up a committee, elections worldwide. The NPP's parallel tabulation system is state of the art. We have the data and it's up to scratch. The NDC must produce data that demonstrate that they have won an election. You don't win an election with your mouth. You don't trample the institutions of state and expect those institutions to accept your authority. If they are damning every institution, the media, the Supreme Court, every institution, over whom are they going to rule? Over whom are they going to rule? What are the instruments they are going to rule with? What instruments are their parallel government going to rely on and stand on to achieve their ends? It is too naked. It is too naked. I think it's important that the NDC resorts to the ultimate, which is the Supreme Court, if they have any doubt at all. And the Supreme Court acts on evidence. The name of the game is evidence.
The two are mutually exclusive. The supporters can be on the street while they gather evidence to receive the court. Isn't that right?
To the extent that the supporters are on the streets peacefully, yes. But we hear language that threatens the stability of the state. The NDC signed up to peace in this country. We are not at war. We've just had an election. Only the numbers of the election determines who is in charge. And the EC, which is the arbiter, has determined that the numbers show that Nanado of the NPP is in charge. So if you have doubts, the emotional bit of it, managing your people, is there. Your people can be in the streets, but don't motivate them to become incendiary. Don't generate a situation which will create chaos and violence. Because if you speak violence and your people resort to violence, it ends up in a cycle that does not establish stability. If you want to rule the country, you must rule it in stability. You can't degenerate the country into violence in expectation of ruling. What are you going to rule over? You can't rule over violence. And the state is a state. The instruments of security are state institutions. They are going to use state authority to maintain stability. And therefore, the current jingoistic stance that we will not agree, we will not resort to the institutions of state, we will do what we like and we will do it with violence, doesn't become the Ghanaian democracy that we are building. The NDC is on the wrong track. Please, they should backtrack.
Would I explain out there that your shocking loss took you to the hospital? Is there something that, is there truth to this?
I wish I could have avoided the personal part of it, but propaganda being what it is, a rumor being what it is. I was actually in the hospital a full week before the election. Wow. I was in the hospital.
A lot has been happening in Parliament today. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me with some updates. Gakpo, we understand the majority leader is questioning the basis for the NDC's claims. We've also seen the minority MPs clad in black and red just to register a point. What's the latest in Parliament?
A lot of things have been happening here in Parliament. For example, the minority MPs are in red and black attire to signify what they say is a mourning of the death of democracy in the country. As Samuel Ekujeto-Ablakwa, the MP for North Tongue, puts it, they also say they're mourning the situation that we've seen with some people being shot during the elections and leading to their deaths, about 5 of them, and they think that the country's democracy is being turned upside down, and that shouldn't be the case going forward, which is why they are in the red and black. I'll speak to the Honorable Richard Kashiga, who is the MP for Keta, in a while, and speak to the Honorable Ben Abdallah, who is the MP for Ofinto South, as well, in a while. But there have been opening addresses after the House resumed sitting today by both the majority leader, the minority leader, and also the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Kuyi. The minority leader repeated the point that they think that what happened, particularly in Tachiman, was out of place. He says that the NDC is not accepting the results of the election. He says the EC made unpardonable errors in the kind of declaration that was put out, and that they are to a very large extent unacceptable. When he made those points, there was a response from the majority leader, Seiche Mensah-Bonsu, who insisted that, as far as he is concerned, there is no basis for this questioning. According to him, the NDC doesn't even have the necessary pink sheet, which is the official record of polls, in order to be able to come to that specific conclusion that the results were flawed to any extent. Let me engage the 2 members of parliament on both the side of the majority and the side of the minority. Let me begin with the Honorable Richard Kashiga, who is the MP for the Keta constituency. So you're in red and black today. What's the point you're seeking to drum home? Repeatedly, the point has come up that you should go to court if you think the election was flawed, rather than the other forms of protest.
Yeah, that is true. Going to court is not going to be ruled out. But we are in red. I'm in red and black because I'm mourning the democracy that we have so much cherished. It's obvious that some people are struggling very hard to push the democracy that all Ghanaians are enjoying into a coffin and nail it. That is what we are mourning. Again, also, we want to demonstrate that we are very much determined to ensure that our democracy lives. Because we all know too well that democracy cannot survive on the whims and caprices of unfairness. And it is clear, even in the court of public opinion, that this election was won by the NDC, both the presidential and at the parliamentary level. And that obviously will clearly be demonstrated with the evidences that we have so far gathered or are still putting together in shape.
When are you getting to court to actually prove that?
I cannot tell you clearly at this point when we're going to court, because obviously we have legal minds who are working on all these things. But then, looking at it carefully from the point of view of an ordinary person, which is the talk of town, I mean, on the lips of any Ghanaian, it's so vivid, so clear that there is a grandiose agenda to steal the mandate of the people, you know, to really demonstrate a tyrannical approach in governing this nation. But that ought not to be, because those who are struggling very hard to perpetuate that, you know, benefited from the free, transparent atmosphere of democracy, which enabled them to be in the coxswain, or the captains in the coxswain. And so we asking and calling on President Nana Akufo-Addo, you know, to reflect critically on what the Ghanaian people expect.
And do what exactly, and cede power to the NPP,
and allow
to the NDC.
Right thing to be done. Because to the minds of many people out there, the Electoral Commissioner herself was subjected to the manipulation of the presidency.
And is there evidence to back that claim?
She couldn't have done.
Is there evidence to back that claim?
Clearly, if a result was announced, and then you come back to talk about corrections, I do not think that our laws, my colleague Banda here is a lawyer, and I do not think that our laws permit that you make a declaration, errors are detected, then you come back to correct those errors. I don't think that is the way to go. That has never happened in our democracy before. It is so novel. You know, clearly, this abysmal, behavior that has been exhibited undermines the whole process and the reason for which the ordinary Ghanaian out there is seeing through the simple manipulation which is intended to snatch or snuff the life out of our democracy.
Many thanks for joining us. The Honorable Richard Kashiga is the outgoing NDC MP for the Keta constituency. Benabdel Banda is the MP for Fenso South. He's also Chairman of Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee. Honorable, thanks very much for joining us. So how does this get resolved eventually? Your colleagues on the minority side, the NDC, they are firm in their minds that they won the polls and their victory is being stolen. Do you agree?
No, I don't, because there shouldn't be a banter between NDC and the NPP. My friend Kashiga, when he was speaking, his submissions were full of, or were riddled with allegations that they are gathering evidence. Something that you are gathering, upon which basis, upon what basis are you saying that you've won the elections? And in any case, this is a country of rule of law. If you think that you have evidence, where do you have to go to? You have to go to the court to prove that indeed and in fact, an election was held, a declaration was made by the EC, and that declaration was flawed. So court, I pray upon you, based on the evidence that I have, which I'm presenting, rule in my favor. In the absence of that, I think that no amount of words can change the declaration made by the EC. And the EC, the Electoral Commission, is an institution that we have entrusted with the power to do ABCD. And according to CI 127, the only person who has the mandate to declare a president in this country is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. If you think that there is anything erroneous about it, then the best place to go to is to go to court. And he also made an allusion to the fact that when she made the first declaration, she went home and came back and said there was an error.
That point has frequently been made, that you can only declare the results once, and that if you do it the second time, then it's out of place.
Which law says
some of your colleagues have quoted this constitutional instrument.
Which law says that? We are all working with CI 127, and 127 says that the declaration must be done by the chairperson of the EC. But it doesn't also forbid the EC if the EC honestly has detected an error and comes back and corrects the error. In any case, the correction doesn't still detract from the fact that the president, our president, Nana Addo Dankwa, the president-elect, has won more than 50%.
The NDC disagrees.
More than 50%. Yes, if they disagree, and the president has been duly declared by the EC, then what else is left? There's nothing left apart from if you think that that declaration was flawed, or the votes were riddled with, as they are claiming, with certain fundamental mistakes. I will urge upon them to proceed to court as we did after the declaration of the 2012 presidential elections.
Many thanks for joining us. Benabdel Banda is the, this is fine, you go ahead, is the MP for Fenso South. He's also Chairman of Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, speaking to us there. Back to you.
Yeah, Gakpo, so we understand the majority leader is also questioning the basis for NDC's claim. What has he been saying?
So I've just been engaging him as well on that. And for Mr. Chairman Sabuntu, we don't have a situation where the NDC actually has the necessary pink sheets in order to come to that determination. He referenced comments that had gone out by the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, as well as the NDC executives, that they are still collating the details and doing an audit of the pink sheet. And based on that, he argues that we are seeing a situation where there is no basis, because they don't even have the tabulation of the results to then say the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, actually lost the election. But I've also been engaging the majority leader on how Parliament will look like going forward. He is of the opinion that nothing like a hung Parliament will actually exist. He is clear in his mind that the NPP would have the majority. He makes the point that the former MP, although he's aware that he's being engaged not only by the NPP but also by the NDC, will eventually drift to the side of the NPP, and he is very much sure that they would have a very working majority in the next Parliament to be able to get business done without any situation of a hung Parliament existing at any point in time.
Well, we look forward to that and see how that will be unfolding as we get to the 8th Parliament. Thank you very much. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our man in Parliament. We'll be bringing you more in our subsequent bulletins. Now, several big names, mainly from the governing New Patriotic Party and some from the National Democratic Congress, will not return to the 8th Parliament after losing their seats in the December 7 elections. Prominent among these legislators are Minister for Planning, Professor Jan Bafo, and Minister for Local Government, Haji Alima Mahama. Shortly, we'll speak to Dr. Kwame Asante, a political scientist, on what may have accounted for these losses. But first, here's Kweku Asante with a report on these MPs who lost their seats.
Several prominent members of Parliament will not be returning to the House after the current session ends after losing their seats. Perhaps the most shocking is the defeat of Wenchi MP and Minister for Planning, Professor George Jan Balfour, who lost to the NDC's Saidu Haruna with an almost 3,000 vote margin. Wenchi is the hometown of Professor Buzia, one of the founding fathers of the NPP, and has been a safe seat for the NPP since its creation in 2004 until this year. Local Government Minister Hajia Alima Mahama, who was charged with spearheading the local level elections, lost her Nalerigu seat to Isifu Saidu of the NDC and will not be returning to the 8th Parliament. MP for Lejekuku and Deputy Health Minister Dr. Bernard Okoboy, touted as a rising star within the NPP, was defeated by the NDC's Benjamin Aiku, a businessman. In Damongo, minority spokesperson on energy Adams Mutawakilu failed in his bid to retain his seat. He was beaten by a Deputy Chief of Staff, Samuel Abujinapo. The front seat of the NPP in the chamber will not be the same, as First Deputy Chief Whip Matthew Nyindam has been kicked out of Parliament. Daniel Nsala Wakpal of the NDC will now represent the people of Pandai. Tough-talking Deputy Defence Minister Derek Odro will also not return to Parliament. He lost his seat to the NDC's Joseph Kwesi Mensah. Another bigwig of the NPP, Daniel Nikwate Titus Glover, was defeated in his bid to retain the Tema East seat. The NDC's Isaac Ashai Odamten emerged winner, even though he was arrested a few days to the polls. Former Tourism Minister Catherine Afeku also lost her Evalue Ajomoro Jura seat to the NDC's Kofi Aku Nokoi. Deputy Attorney General Joseph Penka will also not be returning to the Parliament, as he lost his seat to Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba of the NDC. In all, 33 NPP MPs have lost their seats, whilst 15 from the NDC side will also not return to the 8th Parliament, which begins from 7th January 2020.
We're still live on the Pulse. We'll take a break. We'll bring you more after this break. Welcome back to the Pulse, to the rest of our stories. And the Ghana Police Service is coming under increasing pressure to arrest and prosecute their personnel involved in election day shootings, which left 5 people dead and 17 others injured across the country. Despite the police's insistence that all perpetrators will be brought to book, the United Nations and some civil society organizations, including Occupy Ghana, say failure to prosecute will create a culture of impunity. The special representative of the UN Secretary General and head of the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambers, is calling on authorities in Ghana to investigate and hold accountable personnel of the security agencies who shot and killed some persons during the elections. In a statement released by his office, he also called on the 2 main political parties, NPP and NDC, to respect the peace pact they signed prior to the elections. Here are extracts of the statements issued by Ibn Chambers.
Ibn Chamba stated the peaceful and orderly conduct of voting despite challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and concerns with political vigilantism is demonstrative of the commitment of political actors, national institutions, civil society organizations and the public at large to deepen democracy and to preserve peace and stability in the country. He stated, regrettably, the post-voting period has been marked by isolated incidents of violence which have led to the loss of lives. He condemns the violence and expresses his condolences to the bereaved families. He calls on the Ghanaian authorities to investigate these incidents and hold the perpetrators accountable in line with Ghana's commitment to guaranteeing the respect of human rights and the rule of law. As results have been announced by the Electoral Commission, he calls on the two main parties, the New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress, to respect the Peace Pact signed on 4th December 2020, in which they are committed to seek redress through constitutional and legal means for any electoral grievances.
We can now take a look at the statement from Occupy Ghana on the same issue. Occupy Ghana is gravely disappointed, deeply appalled and extremely alarmed at the incidents and rise of electoral violence, which has reportedly led to the death of some Ghanaians. We strongly condemn these acts of violence and demand a full investigation into them and the arrest and prosecution of those involved. We regret that similar acts of electoral or other politically inspired violence in times past have not led to any prosecutions, which may have helped create a culture of impunity where people have believed that they can get away with it. These do not speak well of a peace-loving country like ours, which is building an enviable credential in electoral processes in Africa. And that is a statement coming from Occupy Ghana. In the next few days, we'll be analyzing the results which have come in from parts of the country following Monday's vote. How will the performance of the parties and their candidates impact on governance in the next 4 years? Today, we focus on constituencies in the northern region. Deputy Head of our political desk, Winston Amwa, is here with us for this analysis. Hello, Winston.
Hi, Aisha.
I think we should go straight to the northern region. And of course, the NPP has really increased its votes over there, and in the just ended elections, the NPP really performed massively, because the reason this is important is because that region has been tagged, I mean, in some past years, as NDC stronghold. Now they've split the constituencies, both have 9 each in parliament. This is massive.
Well, you know, prior to the election, one of the things we talked about was that if you had to win election 2020, you had to do well in your opponent's stronghold. Now, you didn't necessarily have to win, you know, these regions or these strongholds, but you had to improve your performance in those strongholds. And one of the things we saw was that, you know, the NPP improved in the Northeast region. Of course, they won the Northeast region. They also improved, they did very well in the Savannah region and did well in the Western North region. The northern region over the period had been seen as a stronghold of the NDC. And so for the NPP to go in there and, you know, do well is the reason why you would realize that even though the NPP lost in the Greater Accra region, one of the, you know, swing constituencies, they still managed to win this election.
And their votes keep increasing by
you know,
every election.
Yes, the thing about the northern region is that we've stated that since 2004, the NPP has been on the ascendancy in the northern region. They've been improving election after election. And this year's election was no different. And that is one of the reasons why I've got a lot of people talking, because if you look at constituencies like, you know, Yendi, yes, they've always had the Yendi constituency. Ali Mohammed's son is there. The Bimbila constituency has been held for some time, since 2008 now, by, you know, Dominic Nita, who is Minister of Defense. The MEP gets the Tolon constituency. And 2 constituencies which have stood out for many people would be the Gushegu constituency and the Karaga constituency. Now, if you look at the Karaga constituency, for instance, you're talking about Mohamed Amin Adam, who is Deputy Energy Minister. He had tried to go to Parliament on the ticket of the NPP in the Tamale Central constituency.
But that didn't work.
It was unsuccessful. He goes to, you know, Karaga, and is able to overturn the deficit and increase the margin. He won by about almost 10,000 votes.
That is massive.
And that tells you the kind of performance that he put in. Now, if you look at Hassan Tampuli for the Gushegu constituency. Dr. Idris Eblim, who was the member of parliament, 5 months to the election, decides not to be part of the primaries due to some challenges. The other contender also steps down. Then Hassan Tampuli comes in, and in 5 months, he's able to win that constituency. Now, the margin may not be as huge as that of Kashiga.
But 10,000 is a lot, because he won by 31,000 for the president.
Yes. But
compared to 2016, 21,000.
Yes,
that's...
but the issue is that you also would realize that in every election, there's always an increase in voter turnout.
Yeah.
And that of Gushegu is no different. But the point is, in a constituency of that nature, increasing the margins by almost 50% is a huge achievement.
And for me, what stands out in the Gushegu constituency is some allegations that came up that the incumbent plus some party executives were working against. You remember in Nalerugu Gambaga, the same allegations that some party executives worked against her, and that's why she lost her seat. He faced the same challenges. Allegation, it's alleged that the incumbent was working against him, and then some party executives were also working against him. But despite all of that, he was able to pull through and won massively in that constituency.
The thing about elections is that, after every election, people would make a lot of comments or talk about delegations here and there. But what really matters is the margins that you win with. So if you get 31,000 to 28,000, then the question is, okay, so in the previous elections, what were the votes? 21,000. You've increased it by almost 10,000. That's almost by 50%. That certainly may convince a lot of people that you had something to offer, and you probably may have brought on board a new, motion or a new move into the constituency. Okay. So lots of things would come up. But for me, I think that the most important thing in this election is the fact that the NPP were able to excel in strongholds of the NDC, and we had, in our discussions on the road to 50%. More than 50%. Let me just say the right way, more than 50%. Sometimes it's a bit, nice to say 50% plus one, as we've always said, but the statisticians will tell you that you cannot say 50% and add plus one. So it's more than 50%, getting majority of the votes. We said it, we've done all the analysis. We said, look, if the NDC gets about 26 to 27% in the Ashanti region, then they're making election very difficult for the NPP. Yeah. You saw it happening, and we said that, but if also the NPP is able to close margins in the northern region, Savannah region, Western North, Oti region, then the NPP would also be making it difficult for the NDC. We saw the NDC's margins in the Ashanti region over about 600,000, and that translates to margins that you get in the Upper East, Upper West, and the Savannah region. So that's how the elections work, and the happenings in the northern region have shown all of us that, look, if you excel in your opponent's stronghold, you close the margin, don't go out there to win, but try as much as possible to close the margins. Yeah. You're on your way.
And I think that is what worked for these people. And I take you back to the Gushegu constituency again, in the Konkoma and Mampusi areas. You realize that those areas are actually NDC strongholds. Nothing will change their mind. But this time, they voted massively, almost 10,000 votes from that area. And I see hard work go into this. I heard Mahama Ayarga talk about resources in the morning when these conversations were going on, and I'm saying that it's not about resources, because yes, resources play a part, but we've seen people with resources who have lost. Example is Prestia Hune Valley.
Well, Aisha, the thing about resources is that every election you'd have to rely on being resourceful in order to contest the election. If you're not resourceful, you would struggle, and being resourceful is not necessarily about having cash. You need to have logistics in order to be able to campaign. So, yes, politicians will talk about resources, and many of the times would interpret resources as, people having, spreading money or, vote buying. But look, if you come from very large constituencies, as we have seen in the northern part of the country, a lot of the constituencies, yes, the numbers are not huge, but if you look at the size, the geographical area of the constituency, these are large constituencies, and you need to zone them into, you need to categorize them into zones, go out there, campaign there. You only would need to have your vehicles in place. You need to have, so if you're creating 5 zones, you need 5 vehicles, maybe 10 vehicles. Some people may assist you, and that's why I prefer to use the word resourceful, because you could actually call on people to come and assist you. The thing is, if you're campaigning and you're not resourceful, you would struggle. You saw, Farouk Aliyu Mahama, for instance, in the Yendi constituency. He won handsomely. Yeah. Now, why did he do that? You saw the Aliyu Mahama Foundation from the presidency go there to campaign for him. When they were questioning, they say, oh, but the Aliyu Mahama Foundation, his father is the reason why we've established this foundation. So if we have that foundation, why wouldn't we go out there and campaign for him? The thing about politics also is that, I mean, if a new person comes in and is able to bond with the constituents, is able to tell them the things they want to hear. In many of the instances, people go into an election without knowing the needs of the people. Yeah. And I have always said that, feelings that are formed by emotions cannot be dislodged by mere reasoning. If you appeal to the people, if they like you, you get to win. Yeah,
I think it's quite an interesting analysis there. And of course, we talked about the Karaga constituency, which, it used to be Gushegu Karaga.
Yes, they used to be, a twin constituency. As we've seen in other areas, we've seen in the Savannah region, Daboya Mankarigu constituency, Damango, Daboya constituency. Yes. Now it's been split. So you have the Damango constituency, you have the Daboya constituency. That's how it used to be. And for the Karaga constituency, the first time the NPP is winning in Gushegu, the NPP has held it before. They lost it out in 2008, and they came back to win it in 2016 with Dr. Edie Ziblim, who became the Deputy Tourism Minister. And then eventually he decided to step aside. So, yes, Gushegu would say it's a seat that the NPP can win. Karaga is a seat that you'll be surprised to see the NPP win. And so if Dr. Mohammed Amin Adams is able to win, first of all, overturn the deficit of about 2,000, and then increase his party's vote and win with a margin of about 9,500, you would say he's done very, very well. But having said that also, it's important that you also would signal out the young Farouk Aliyu Mahama. Yeah. But the NPP also lost some seats in the Saboba constituency. Yeah. Bukari Nikbe Joseph of the NDC stage Akama, the MPs lost the Wulensi seat as well. So,
one seat they won that really, a lot of people are happy about is the Mion seat for 28 years. It's the first time the NPP is winning that seat.
The Mion seat, the Mion seat has a history. And one of the things I don't want to do often is to look at the tribal dynamics in a constituency. But, the Mion area, even though has always been categorized as one of the Dagomba areas, has a lot of Konkomba in that constituency.
Definitely.
Okay, you have a lot of Konkomba in that constituency. And so you realize that it was held by, Dr. Al-Hassan Yakubu for some time. Then he lost the primaries to Aziz, who then became the Member of Parliament. And then Aziz also lost it out to the NPP now. And for the first time, the NPP is won, just like they've done in the Karaga constituency. Yeah. When you win a seat like that, the first thing you ask yourself is, would I be able to maintain the seat? Yeah. And we saw Anthony Kabo win the Laura constituency. He had an independent candidate showing up there. He wasn't able to hold on to it, and he lost it. Of course, we've seen, Ambrose Derry win the old Laura Nandom constituency. He lost it to, he beat Kumbo to it at the time when Bid Zeding in 2008 had contested as a candidate of the Democratic Freedom Party, DFP, that pulled about 1,800 votes and making it difficult for Ben Kumbo. When the NDC and DFP came back together, Ben Kumbo goes in 2012, wins that constituency. At the time, it had been split into two, Nandom and Laura. Then in 2016, Ambrose Derry comes back to win it, and he's maintained it now, even though Akufo-Addo lost in that constituency. What that should tell you is that over the years, he's been able to endear himself to the people. We would see again what would happen. Agnes Chigabatia, won the Bulsa North seat in 2004.
She lost it.
And she lost it in 2008.
Yeah.
She lost it to Timothy Awuntirim of the NDC. Awuntirim now also loses his primaries in 2012 to James Agaga. And so right from there, right from 2008, the NDC is held on to that seat. So the thing about an elections that you win is that if you are, if you win that thing, if you win that seat, it is expected that you continue to hold on to it. Yeah. If it flips after the first time, then it means that, well, this is just a fluke and that it may have happened because they liked you. But the point also is that if you look at, for instance, the Yendi seat, the Yendi, traditionally is an NPP seat. Yeah. Malika Hassan Yakubu won it in 1996 when the NPP contested.
Yeah, second,
he became second deputy speaker in 2005. Even when the NPP lost majority of their seats in the old northern region. They still held on to the Yendi constituency until 2008 when he lost it. But then the NPP came back to win it in 2012, and now you have the son of Alhaji Ali Muhammad, former vice president, taking it. The thing about the Kashiga constituency is the first time, but the margins are huge. And so if you continue being good to the people, it's very likely you may hold on to it. Kashiga has shown that it can fall to the NPP. It's fallen to the NPP before, it's fallen to the NDC, comes back to the NPP. It also tells you that if you do well in that constituency, if you frequent it as you've always been doing, if you consistently oil the constituency, like we say, then you could be on as a member of parliament for a very long time. Let me end on this note because, I mean, the Sabuwa constituency, which has been a fight between Charles Bintim and Bukari Joseph Nikbe. Bukari Joseph Nikbe has won it again. Charles Bintim lost it in 2008, lost it in 2012, came back to win it in 2016, and he's lost it now. So a lot of dynamics come to play.
And of course, talking about maintaining the seats, and this morning I also heard Bemka, who himself lost his seats, talking about how some of these guys in the north really are working hard. Not even because they are members of parliament or they're politicians yet, but even before they came into the limelight, they were doing their underground, helping the community. So these are some of the things that really, I believe, will keep them in.
Yes, let me just end on this note that, look, those who go contesting seats always would have had the thought that they would want to go to parliament long before it happens. And you just don't wake up and go to parliament. And you've had the famous "we don't know you" statement. So if you are coming into a constituency where you're not known, nobody's going to vote for you. So sometimes you want to bid your time, so you want to hold on. So you say, oh, I think I may do it in 2024. Why not start now? Or I think I may do it in 2028, why not start now? So you start now, you start frequenting the constituency, you get to meet people. Over time, the people get to know you, they call on you and say, oh, when are you coming to contest? We want you to be our member of parliament. You tell them, oh, let's allow our MP to go for some more time. And then after another term, they say, oh, you are the one that we want. So in many of the instances, we'd say, oh, the people have invited me. You know how politicians say. The people have called me to come and contest. But it's not always the case that the people call you. When the people really call on you and you realize it's become difficult, I had somebody tell me in the central region that people invited him to come and contest. But he got there and realized that the people wanted his money. So, since... And
you see, that's where the issue of resources comes in. People can take your money and they'll not vote. I think it's loyalty.
He stepped down because he realized that they did not genuinely want him to be on.
Definitely.
But they also want people to come into the race. And if a lot of people are in the race, what happens is that for delegates, it's bingo. They make money. Lots of people are coming in. So in a battle to outwit each other, they pay them more money and they're excited and then they're good to go.
And of course, they pay them more money, but I still insist that it's about loyalty. So yes, you go in with resources, but how loyal are the people to you and how loyal are you to the people? And I mean, the people you talked about Kashiga, you talked about Kashiga. Bemka talked about how Tampoli is a development person who is always relating to his people and all of that. So probably those might have won for him, might have done the magic. Maybe if we talk to him himself, maybe he can tell us more of the things that won him. But I think the guys have done really well in the northern region. Winston, thank you so much for the analysis. Winston Amwa is Deputy head of political desk. Now, MPP executives in the Sekado Ketan constituency have dared the NDC to prove the allegations of fraud during the 7th December election at the appropriate quarter. Speaking at a press conference to address what they describe as lies being speculated by members of the NDC, the Sekado Ketan constituency secretary of the NPP, Thomas Amwa, says their victory was free from any form of rigging. He was quick to add that the NPP won 99 polling stations out of 154 polling stations in the constituency.
Our attention has been drawn to spurious and baseless allegations of alleged massive fraud by the NDC in the recent parliamentary elections. We had received unconfirmed reports that the NDC was seeking to rig the elections, so we, the MPP, were alert on the day of the election. Voting ended at 5 p.m. with no serious incident being reported by our polling agents at the various polling stations. Counting was done at each polling station in the full view of the public, and the results at every polling station was declared at each polling station. After this, the necessary documentation, the big sheet, was duly filed and signed by all the parties present. Our representatives went to the coalition center of the Kashiga Constituency, which is at the Methodist Church Brigade Hall, Iskado. The Electoral Commission officials started receiving the ballot boxes and electoral materials from their officials who were coming from the various polling stations. At the time, NDC supporters, led by their candidates, Ms. Ayesudakwa, and other party members, including former Minister for National Security, rushed to the coalition center, claiming the NDC had won the parliamentary election. Their members, who were carrying knives and other implements, started throwing stones into the coalition center. There was absolutely no basis for this commotion. Neither was there any basis for the claim that NDC had won the parliamentary elections when the results from the various polling stations had not been officially collated and announced by the returning officer. Around 11 p.m., Grace Ayensu and her team left the coalition center, having been repelled by the police and military when they sought to take over the coalition center. Collation of the presidential results started and ended around 9:50 a.m. This was won by Nana Adudakwa Akufo-Addo. The collation of the parliamentary results commenced around 10 a.m. 3 members of the NDC were present. This included one Ali, who presented himself as an NDC youth organizer, and a lawyer who said he was representing the NDC parliamentary candidates.
Outgoing Tamale Central MP Nusa Hussaini says that NDC has no intention of forming a parallel government and declaring John Dramani Mahama as president-elect. He says the party is preparing to contest the results of last week's election in court, and that will be the only challenge they will put up against it. In an earlier interview on an Accra-based TV station, Mr. Hussaini encouraged former President Mahama to form a parallel government and declare himself president. Mr. Hussaini says it was simply his opinion and does not represent his party's position.
John Dramani, in my view, John Dramani must declare himself president and form a parallel government. And I'm sort of shocked of the reaction of people. The idea is not new. I mean, if you go and read Appiah Kente's book, River in the Sea, I mean, when they lost the 1992 elections, MPP contemplated forming. Adubuahil contemplated declaring himself president and forming a parallel government. They had even secured premises in Cote d'Ivoire. The idea is not totally new, but he did not. But he did not. But who says NDC is going to? Who says NDC is going to? I mean, that's just this feeling I expressed. That's a view I expressed. That view is not original. That in 1992, that view was expressed by no less a person that, Appiah Kente, who was a lawyer, industrialist, entrepreneur, politician. He wrote it in his book, The Rivers in the Sun. I can say that I got the first idea that someone can do that. Isn't this a threat to our peace? Well, so that is a view. First of all, let's understand that the view is not original. It's in Appiah Kente's book, Rivers in the Sea, published in July 2010. Those who have not read should go and read it. They didn't carry through the threat of forming a parallel government. No one says that NDC is going to carry through the threat of forming a parallel government. But that was a view that was expressed then. That's the view that I've expressed now.
He believes there must be a forensic audit of the election, something his party will demand in court. Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Joseph Kpemka has been speaking on this matter. He says former President John Mahama should either concede or proceed to court with whatever evidence gathered.
The proposition he's making is not out of place. That His Excellency the President calls the person and says that let's sit down and talk and see what we could do in the interest of Mother Ghana. What I think rather is, you see, in a situation like this, just as it happened in 2012, as I recall, when His Excellency the President now lost at that time, he held you remember immediately after the verdict of the Supreme Court, I mean, first when the announcement was made, the big announcement was made declaring His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as winner at the time, he said that he was not going to recognize the victory and went through the legitimate process of ensuring that he filed an election petition at the Supreme Court, which traveled for those number of months leading to the verdict that was delivered. Right after the verdict was delivered, you recall that immediately he addressed the media and said he was not going to ask for a review, and that even though he respected the opinion of the court, he disagreed with it. And then Ghana moved on.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, but the point is that, so in 2012, when John Mahama was declared winner, Nana Akufo-Addo did not concede. He said he disagreed. I mean, he felt that the election was robbed. He went to court. So he only called him on the 29th of August, 2013, after the Supreme Court ruling, after the election petition adjudication. So
I really don't have a problem.
Yeah, so if John Mahama is not down safe, it's not the same situation, because he's claiming that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's wrong. If he has that strong feeling that the elections were not actually fair and that there were certain errors which inure to the benefit of the ruling party and etc., then he has the opportunity to go to court to actually assert that. And when the Supreme Court listens and says that there's a merit in what you are saying and rule in his favor, fine. If it doesn't go in his favor, at that stage he can do the congratulations. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is when we have a situation where people are declaring others as president, when the Electoral Commission, the only one mandated to do so, is the one required to do that and has done so. Because I was really, really appalled when I heard a very leading member of the NDC on TV calling former President Mahama president-elect. I was really shocked to the marrow. In any country, such people should have been picked up by the security agencies. I'm telling you this for a fact, that you make a declaration on TV.
And who is this person you're talking about?
It was Sami Jemfi who said it. I heard him loud and clear. He said former President Mahama was president-elect. What's that? What type of democracy are we running? That the Electoral Commission makes a declaration and an individual goes to also make another declaration? I've never heard that anywhere. This is a recipe for chaos and disaster in society, because your supporters will then listen to you and go by what you are saying. And what type of democracy will we be building?
4 journalists were attacked before and during the general elections. This revelation by the GJA, though not the first witness in this country, was brutal and should be condemned. President of the association, Athel Moni, says 3 of those attacked are in critical condition and 1 was operated on last week. He's urging media practitioners not to be intimidated over the attacks, whilst asking members to pursue the highest form of circumspection in their work.
Our brother, our colleague, is out of danger, but he'll be out of work for some time now. And the good news is that the MOU we have signed with SIC, which enjoins the insurance company, provide a cushion, 40,000 cedis work. Under the MOU, I see you will see 40,000 lump sum and 3,300 cedis every month, 1 good year. Others, depending on their degree of injury, will also be entitled package under the MOU.
Did all these incidents occur on election day?
2 on election day, 1 before the election day, and the insurance cover spans 1st November 2020 and 31st January 2021. So any journalist who falls victim to attacks or is injured in 1st November 2020, 31st January 2021, we're entitled to a package at the MOU.
Okay, great. But we've had elections in this country before. Is this the first time that we're recording incidents such as what you're narrating to us?
Yes, and another previous occasions, journalists were brutalized, mistreated, but the number and the magnitude of injury are unprecedented. We did anticipate that given the stakes which were incredibly high in the 2020 election, and given the bent by the two parties to win power at all costs, we did anticipate that journalists come under a form of attacks or threats. So we promptly asked the IGP to end a special power of protection to all journalists. That was at a meeting last Friday before election. And of course, he also deserved commendation for sharpening the focus of the National Security Task Force, which he is the chairman, on journalists. But for his alertness, for his leadership, I believe the story would have been worse than what we are with now. So kudos to IGP. Again, when it goes to all political actors, not to claim or attempt to hit mayhem on journalists, because an attack on one journalist is an attack against all journalists. An attack against a journalist is an attack against our democracy. So as we speak, our democracy and the soul of this nation is bleeding profuse from the attacks, and we believe that the law will take its course. As we speak, one of the perpetrators is facing justice. We live in a dispensation of rule of law, and in the side dispensation, anybody who willfully finds himself or herself the wrong side of the law should be made to taste biting edge of the law. So we expect the law to bite hard on such perpetrators, and this to give us a ray of hope that the laws work.
How about those who've been receiving threatening messages on their phones?
Yes, we directed such threats to the appropriate quarters, and I believe the appropriate quarters not treat such threats lightly. We don't want to break up thresholds, but it's happened in the case of Ahmed Swale. A gentleman walked into my office this very often, and he did warn us that blood was going to be shed, and the threats which preceded the assassination in the most tragic circumstances of Ahmed Swale was going to happen. He said some journalists were going to have targeted, some journalists who were involved in that expose where some of them were going to die. And surprised when Ahmed Swale was killed. So as a coming event, they say have their shadows, but we are inclined to believe that any journalist shot or killed as it happened to Ahmed Swale. So it falls on the lap of the security agencies, law and order community, to act with urgent promptitude on this new degree of activity which is being displayed by certain political.
Mr. Moni, what's the direction to journalists if you're being threatened, if you're receiving messages either on your phone directly or they're sending it to your social media accounts, for instance? Where do you go to? I encourage the security agencies to lodge a formal complaint to them. I believe they are aware, they are following. And I said it in the best repeating that these threats should not be taken lightly. We expect them to act on these threats with urgent promptitude in order to prevent something untoward happening. I've said it before, and a repetition will come with incalculable consequences to this nation. It also has the tendency to exert a chilling effect on press freedom. We are humans. So when we are threatened, and assassination or killing or injury is the worst form of
censorship, and we reached a stage where censorship should not be countenance in any shape. So again, once again, we expect national security, we expect the IGP, we expect all security agencies to rally to the defense of journalists. This critical time.
Yeah, great. You've mentioned that one person is facing justice as we speak, but are you satisfied with the speed at which this issue is being handled?
General Overseer of the Perez Charles Bishop Ajanasari, he's actually the Bishop of the Perez Church. He's urged former President John Mahama to choose peace over chaos as he contests the results of the just-ended elections. Addressing congregants, the presiding bishop referred the NDC candidate to the election petition at the Supreme Court in 2008, calling on him to learn lessons from its implications.
Declared the presidential for Nanado, and then the parliamentary also had winners. My church members and others who won, I say congratulations to you. To those who lost, we pray better favor for you next time. Excellency John Mahama, who is contesting the presidential results, we pray you do it peacefully. 2012, when a similar thing happened, it was not easy in this country.
En 2012, lorsqu'une chose similaire s'est produite, ce n'était pas facile.
Meanwhile, the presiding bishop has condemned the shooting incident at Tichiman that led to the death of two party supporters during the elections. He's calling for swift investigations into the matter.
A number of people have already lost their lives. Nobody needs to die because of an election. We therefore condemn the use of firearms on unarmed civilians. We ask that proper investigations be conducted in the deaths of the people who wanted to defend their votes, because democracy is not a war. We continue to pray for peace to prevail. May God help our homeland, Ghana.
Supporters of the NDC have been demonstrating in Tamale, Medina, Ashaman, and Tema, insisting their presidential candidate John Mahama won the elections and must be made to take charge as president. Here are some of them in Ashaman and Medina yesterday.
I'm want to ask you, over your demonstration. They say no Mahama, no Mahama, no peace. No Mahama, no peace. No Mahama, no peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. Oh, Bonyo, Ashawa. No peace. 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 People must see that the process has begun to activate justice, because like I said, you cannot have peace without justice. And so if we want peace, Peace Council is looking for peace, Christian Council is looking for peace, Muslim councils, Ghana Catholic Bishops Council, all the institutions, Ghana Bar Association, the judiciary, all the institutions are looking for peace. But how can we have peace where we do not have justice? How can we have peace when people feel peeved? How can we have peace when people are discriminated against? How can we have peace when people feel cheated? How can we have peace when the institutions of peace are rather perpetrating injustice? The truth is that there are many actions open to the NDC, as our leader has already said. Courts is not excluded. In fact, indeed, as we speak now, there are a number of actions, for example, in Techiman South, a number of actions that are ongoing. Our lawyers have been there to verify the situation and all that. So it tells you that all actions are available to the NDC, including political actions. And we won't discount any one of them. And definitely court is not out of the question.
Let's now hear from residents of Medina and Adentan on how or why they voted for change.
The 2020 parliamentary elections sprang a lot of surprises on many Ghanaians, with a lot of big shots losing their seats to their opponents. Well, one of such constituencies is the Medina Abukubi constituency, where Alhaji Sadiq Boniface, who is a Minister of State, at the Vice President's office, lost his seat to Francis Xavier Sasu. Alhaji Sadiq Boniface contested Alhaji Amadou Sorogo in the 2016 general elections. And let's see how much he got from that constituency or that elections. He had 40,283%, 40,283 votes out of the total vote cast, and that represented 54.90% of the total vote cast. And Alhaji Amadou Sorogo at the time also garnered 31,650, representing 43.13% of the total votes lost. Now, a fast track to 2020. Francis Xavier Sosu recorded 62,127, representing 56.58% of the total votes cast, whilst Alhaji Abubakar Sadiq Boniface recorded 46,985 votes, representing 42.79%. Now, the question one may ask is, why this sharp decline for the NPP? Well, let's speak to the constituents to see or to get to know why or what informed their decision.
Yes, Alhaji, Onye Juma, and a change, and a buy. And second, when also Onye Juma Bia, a can say body fees, also Onye Juma Bia, and I say, they win by Sosu, and a buy. Say, one by Juma Mai. But the one year you might be an independent bed, or bet me a fro. Want to mean fro? What I said? Want to mean fro? They say Juma win no, yeah, no. We hear Juma papa, dear no obey. We be fro say by Juma mano. Ain't I head and ace son.
I Boniface to our Mututiano. Eh, was Obiama complainer was on your Bibia Zongo or deco. If you cry, you block down by almost say Adrian Ibio Benabia Zongo or defa. Adrian Ibio Benabia Zongo, in fact, trepo. Zongo no defa. And now the Boniface, yes, and Obi on my own tiasia, by me a family meeting I say, because I now just obey Winnie Zongo for Akuma. Every and this the Abakan people for. And I said, baby, I will win, and Opasanka will win his own phone, Edward Bacca, Neho. But Wayanesa, and ye, on to me, Yanesa, and Yanni Penny dream a Bacco Ben Crum. Nanka said, baby, I will win majority vote, and also uncle, or Gina ye and Mumu. But Wayanesa, especially Medina has a Boniface Luciano. Sabi seat in the Union say a NDC 4 seats. Now Sologo. Berebia last 4 years, maybe a name Koyi in Temabutu. The 202 na Boniface Bar, Naka, maybe rest like a Boniface Bar, or better the loose side of the Sologo now or the Luciano, not cutting me build the honor. But I come here so by and I say power when the January I didn't know, shut down more, and also a yes or by an idea. It's a basana, so far as I will sit. Now, Muni Panay be no idea to know. So also be the same mistake, and I say obvious, send the TVano. 4 years in this one, you be 12 years. Intermediate, so Boniface 202, and said then, who can be this because sitting in your MPP seat, and this seat. Now, so going to be and yes, or ye, and what you're to go by and okay, so go back to the people, grassroots, no be solved the reason, Nema, a course, I say, so go yeah, Uncle Yin, Tema would just so yeah, then you too. But I mean, I come here and say, on one Yanesa, they be not a company, or yeah, the aircon type, they be who came, I said, they be office. But the human the background, na ni panakasa, ni pene husampa, oni pe wakanya ho, ya mane na mane how ye ne how. Enti ye tu na en shede ha me ne mum ya na ya say MPP timi lusu say it.
To give you a summary of all that they have said. The first person spoke about the fact that Alhaji Sadiq Boniface promised to work for them because Alhaji Amadou Sorogo, when he was in power in 2016, did not work for them. So he promised to work for them, but after gaining the power or after getting the power, he forgot all about them, and that's why they voted against him. The other person, the other lady also said that Alhaji Sadiq Boniface concentrated on the Zongos, thinking he was going to win the Zongos to his strongholds, but that also backfired. The last person also spoke at the fact that he failed to learn from his predecessor, and so he continued to make the same mistakes Amadou Sorogo made, and that's why the seat reverted back to the NDC. Now, let's move to the Adenta and constituency to hear their reasons for voting their candidates out.
The reason why we voted for Abu Ramadan is, like, he loves human beings. You see,
he spends a lot on us, like he did the, how do you call it, the Lakeside Bridge. He did it. And he didn't wait for him to be in power before he does what he does for us. You can see this structure here. He did it. So we can see he's very close to us. We've been seeing him often. He's very close to us, even when he wasn't an MP. And he spends a lot. That's why we voted for him, because we think it is his time.
The reason I'm for 2 tier parliamentary money say a lot of them now control free education. Meanwhile, I know parliamentary was say be a free education. It's me who say I know come more and I'm for 2 tier because say also free education na say hwe nkoso e wo ehonoma e wo dance ho na fit me say onya hwe me say me jam me to skirt and blouse me to ma sitting president na me to ma friends and NDC parliamentary candidates. Until no sana me who say in the next 4 years 8 years coming I say sana say Obana say say onya dia no matter so MPP and say say you free honum
ye station ha particular e hwe party ye wa ha ya e Ramadan na be ye sa party ye sie because em say why be buy obai obebisa say mwa ben e na station ne ye pe e no mo say o mo pe pata fine o pe pata wo so kwa aba ye hu bi ba Ramadan oba na wo kan asem na pe e ho na kpakpakwa de be chia no wa be ye estimate kpakpakwa o ma be bo we no o mo di esi wo nti nipa bia wutu anamo a e se ade na wo be hu se o ye no o ye o mechi tafu bi wa ha si nti na this time no MPP parliamentary no akoye say abato ni koye sketem raso.
Well, you heard them. You heard what they have to say. Now, let me first do a summary of those who spoke in the local dialect said. According to one of them, he says that Yabuabian Samoa was rather focusing on the free education that the president brought about. And that was not his achievement to tout. Well, the other person also says that Abu Ramadan, who contested him, I should say, rather focused on the people. He came to them, even when he is not an MP yet, he focused on giving them what they needed. He built a lot of things for them, bridges and sheds and all that. So they focused on that. They used that to vote against Yabuabian Samoa. That's it. And this is not the only place that we have these conversations going on. And this is not the only place that people are giving these excuses, that the MPs neglected them. Well, this is your choice to make. Emmanuel Ayante, JoyNews.
That was Emmanuel Ante with that report. Now we can listen now to Apostle General Sam Kranche Ankara, who is urging the president to consider appointing members of the opposition party in key positions of government as a sure way of dealing with the growing tension.
The Lord said, I should tell you there will be peace in Ghana. Ghana will never bend. For your sake, there will be peace in this nation. And today I made some bold statements on your behalf. And I want to repeat. I said, I want His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo to call John Mahama. Even though I know that it is the one in opposition who calls. But because he's a father of the nation, I want him to stretch a hand of peace to his opponents and even those who are criticizing him and whatever. He should tell John Mahama, John, this thing is not about the fight. Let peace prevail. Can you come to my office? Let us talk. I pray that this week that will happen. Second invocation. Any parliamentary seat that has come under a battle or fight or contention this week, may the matter be settled to the glory of God's name. Amen. And the third one is very dangerous. So if you hear people insulting me, please pray for me and then protect me. Moses, the third one. I said, I asked the president to dare for the first time, when he's giving cabinet positions, he should pick some members from the opposition and give them posts. We want to kill the winner takes all spirit. It's dying by the power of the mercies in the blood. It is the winner takes all spirit that brings the contention and the fight and unforgiveness. Because people say, are we going to wait for the next 4 years again?
You heard there Sam Kranche Ankra appealing for peace from both candidates. We're live on DSTV channel 421, on GoTV 144 and DTT because we're free. So we'll be back shortly with more. Welcome back to the Pulse, to the rest of our stories. And National Road Safety Authority says 44 people were killed through road traffic accidents during the 2020 electioneering season. The 2016 elections recorded the same figure. The only difference is that this time road crashes resulting from electioneering activities shot by 55%. On Zoom is David Osafa Dontain, who is Director of Planning and Programs. Many thanks for joining us. How worrying are these figures?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yeah, very well. Okay, good afternoon to you and to all our viewers. The crashes, the deaths and the injuries have been reported. The police have given the statistics, and we have put it out clearly for every Ghanaian to see that on the 7th day, when there was the voting, all the way to the 10th, that 4 days, we lost 44 persons on our roads. 157 persons got injured, and then we had 155 crashes. Now, if you compare to the same period, 2016, we recorded 100 crashes, 44 deaths, and then 169 injuries. So clearly, you could see that in terms of the crashes, it escalated by 55% above the 2016 figure. We made some savings in terms of the injuries, 157 and 169, about 7% reduction. It's the number of deaths that remained stable, 44 in 2016 and then 44 this time round in 2020. So that is the situation, my good friend.
That's quite worrying. Of course, if you say this has increased by 55% compared to 2016, is that to say our campaigns, our extensive campaigns against road crashes aren't yielding any positive results?
I think that I would rather attribute it to the fact that much as we did in terms of engaging the general populace, particularly political parties where we had to engage their leadership at the national and regional levels, constituency levels, and all that. We produced and guided them how to use Road Safety Code of Ethics, which in the content provided guidelines as to how they should transport their followers and wishes, how they should conduct in terms of their campaigns and rallies and all that. We asked them to have road safety champions and officers within their rank and file. I think that some of them complied with the content, with the provisions. Others did not. And you could see that the situation leading to the voting day is that we had a series of crashes involving political party leaderships. Some of them lost their lives. Some also got injured. And on the day of the elections and beyond, 2 days after, when the EC came up and announced the winners of the presidential elections and then the parliamentary elections, you could see the excitement coming from their supporters. People had to run to the streets and misbehave in terms of road use, especially those sitting on motorbikes. You could see how they were maneuvering on the roads without due care. They did not comply with the rules and regulations. People had to drink and go and drive, sit behind steering wheel and all that. So I think that we, the National Road Safety Authority, I must say that we did a lot of job. We were on radio and TV at all times. We engaged the people on the ground at constituency levels. We had to advise people as to how to behave when the results are announced by the EC and all that. But you see, in these situations, sometimes you can't be everywhere to control everybody. It requires that people have to take that responsibility, the safety on their own, and so on. But unfortunately, I think we had people who were so recalcitrant They did not take advice. They had to do things beyond control, and they lost their lives. It's very unfortunate, but it happens in election years.
What's the plan? What's the plan going forward in getting us out of here?
I think that in terms of the deaths, I must say that it's remained stable. 4 years down the line, if nothing was done, the situation would have been worse, because you had all the factors increasing at every time. Every 4 years, you find number of vehicles growing. You find number of people, population growing, and all the factors would always work against us. But we stood very firm and strong with the media support, the kind of engagement we did. And of course, the leadership of some political parties also supported us. But moving forward, we think that in the next 4 years, we must strengthen the capacity of political parties in terms of having road safety champions for their leadership, their flag bearers, and their parliamentary candidates to accept the challenge and be more responsible themselves. And then they should also let it trickle down to the rank and file of their party members and supporters. We're looking at a way of entrenching some laws and regulations within campaigns and political party operations so that we can enforce it. Now that the National Road Safety Commission has become an authority, we have to find ways of fitting ourselves into political party operations said that they can have road safety champions, road safety leadership, like they have organizing secretaries and they have party general secretaries and so on. They should have some positions that people would have to occupy so that they can operate within the laws and the wings of the road traffic regulations and then the code of ethics that we give them, so that we can also enforce it. But beyond that, words must come from political leadership. Flag bearers must mount platforms, campaign platforms and rallies, and speak to the issue of road safety. We must also see them having it in their manifestos. Road safety must become part and parcel of developmental issues, and progressively we can entrench it into activities of political parties, so that during campaigns and rallies it can be seen and pronounced that political party leaderships and then supporters abide by them. But we're going into Christmas, and so the ecstasy, the excitement, I believe, will continue to get closer to Christmas and even beyond, when the president is going to be inaugurated on the 7th. So we are alert. We are strengthening our activities and campaigns. We are not going to sit down. We're not going to more or less relax at all. The campaign will still go on. The Arrive Alive campaign is on. We are moving to radios. We are moving to TVs. We are going one-on-one to meet drivers and engage them, transport operators. We are also moving to churches, to mosques, to markets, to anywhere that you see human beings gathered. We will engage them and speak to them and advise them. We are also going to urge on our police partners, the MTTD, to move on to the streets and then come back to reactivate their strategy of fighting indiscipline, war against indiscipline.
On our roads.
On our road.
I'm grateful for your time. David Osafo Adonting is Director of Planning and Programs. That's for Arrive Alive, brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority with support from Toyota Ghana, Logistics Movers, and JoyNews' Drive Safe campaign. Now, the Central Region Police Command has effected the arrest of the DCE for Ejumako Enyanesiam, Ransford Kwesinyakon, for assaulting a police officer and freeing a suspect in custody. The Ejumako DCE is alleged to have driven to the police station in the company of some men and subjected the officer on duty, who arrested the suspect several slaps and ordered his men to assault the officer. The Regional Police Command says they ensure that the police officer gets justice. Let's cross over to the Central Region, where Richard Kwejo Nyakon is on this beat. Kwejo, give us a background to this story. DSP Irene Opon is Regional Police PRO. She's been speaking, but give us a background to this story. Kwejo Nyakon, you are on the pulse.
Okay. Hi. Good evening.
Good evening, Kojo Nyako. I'm asking you to give us a background, bring us up to speed, what has led to all of this in the central region where a police officer has been beaten by the DCE and freed someone who was in his custody.
So someone went to make a complaint at the police station at the Jumako. And the officer there, he was then the officer in charge of that particular police station. And so a medical form was issued. And then the victim went to the hospital and returned with an endorsed form. So when he came back, the police man proceeded to arrest the suspect in that particular case. He was there at the police station when he had a call. So there was someone on a motorbike. The person went to the police station and said that someone wants to speak with the policeman in charge who effected the arrest. He obliged, he spoke with the person, and the person decided to hurl insults at the policeman. So he decided not to even respond to the call again. They were there, and then there were two vehicles led by the DC for the area around Fort Kwesi. So together, the police tell us that they were about 8. When they got there, the DC decided to start slapping the policeman in uniform, and then ordered the other people that were in his company to also assault the policeman. And so currently what the police have done today is to effect the arrest of the DC, and the DC is currently at the regional police headquarters assisting with investigations, and the policeman has also gone to the hospital and has since returned. So that is the background to this particular story.
Interesting. So now, what has the police officials been saying about all of this? What's going to happen to, what's next for this case?
So now, not only did they assault the policeman, they also went and then took the suspect that was in the police custody with them. And so the DC is alleged to have driven away, together with the suspect that was in the police custody. What the police command is indicating to us is that they are not going to allow that thing to happen. They are going to ensure that their colleague get justice. And so currently we do not know whether the DC would be detained further or will spend the night behind bars, but he is currently still in the custody. And then they are urging the police personnel who are also in the hinterlands to also not to hesitate to report such incident if they are abused by people that are in positions like that.
Kojo Nyako is our man in the central region. We'll be following this story and bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. Now, residents of Kute, a rural farming community in the Jasikan district, are calling on government through the district assembly to urgently open over 90% complete new facility for public use. The health center, which serves over 9,000 residents, currently is operated from a rented apartment, and the maternity ward shares a door with tenants in the facility, which workers say breaches confidentiality and privacy. OT region correspondent Peter Senu visited the community and asked the rest of the story.
There's no washroom for staff and patients. So when you are working and you want to ease yourself, it's either you go home or go to a nearby house. So is the patient also, which is very inconvenient. Patients, but right now we are out of medical supplies because of the condition of the place. This is new modern delivery bed which has been sitting in this box over the past 4 years that had been brought to the facility. Staff are ready to work, but the place is not in good shape to work.
Patients of anonymous worker at the Kute Health Facility. Broken windows and doors, cracked walls, falling ceiling are the immediate characteristics of the Kute Health Center in the Jasikan district of the Oti region. The facility has one ward for all sexes and ages, with 1 out of 3 beds usable. The maternity ward shares a door with tenants in the rented apartment that workers say breaches confidentiality and its delivery bed is not worth supporting a life into existence. The facility, with its cracked walls, has a hole leading to the maternity room, a possible access route for rodents and reptiles. Experiences working at the facility, but on condition of anonymity for fear of victimization.
This is the facility that saves of this facility. We have maternity, which serves the people during postnatal services, delivery, running all this in just one room. The stairs to that place is not easily accessible, so meaning that any injured at any supported, else it's going to fall. A staff was working in child when the window collapsed or fell, and this is where they do the family planning methods, do their vaccination and other child services in this facility.
The facility has no source of water supply even in this crucial era of COVID-19 pandemic.
Doesn't people from the town or we ourselves go and fetch water before we can use it in the facility for anything that needs water to be used for.
Due to the unavailability of space, 4 offices we are told.
The OPD services is run here, where we have consulting room, sharing a place with store, sharing a place with dispensary, sharing a place with the lab, in one room.
The records of patients are kept in this locker outside of the facility. Workers have been sharing their experiences working at the facility, but on condition of anonymity for fear of victimization.
This is the facility that serves about 9,000 people in the environs of this facility. We have the maternity, which serves the people during ANC, postnatal services, delivery, running all the services in just one room. The stairs to the
Assembly has taken over to complete about 4 years ago, after the community has started it more than 25 years ago.
My appeal is to open the new place for us to start work there. The staffs are willing to do the work, but where to do the work is the problem.
Anthony is the assembly member for the area.
They have started it around 1995 that way, so they have raised it to the footing level before the assembly came in to come and take over. So assembly took it from the footing level up to this stage. So the work has been going on and off. So sometimes the community, as assemblyman, I have to organize my community to come for communal labor, what is not necessary for us to do, but to help the contractor to get the facility quick for us. That is why we do such a work.
According to Anthony, the contractor would not hand over the keys until the assembly pays him.
The problem now is from the assembly. So we need to go back to the assembly and ask why is it that they are not paying the contractor to hand over the key to the community? Even the nurses' quarters, they are still owing him. That is why he said without the payment, he will never release the key to the assembly, so that the assembly also come and hand over to the community.
As the case is now, most expectant mothers travel to either Jasikan or Ayoma for medical attention, some of which result in motorbike accidents due to the bad nature of the road, especially from Kute to Ayoma. Elizabeth is one of the expectant mothers who travels to Ayoma for medical attention. She says she was involved in an accident just recently. Just last Thursday, upon reaching Lakante while going for a medical checkup at Ayoma, we had an accident. I can't even lift my arm. Some other residents have been speaking to JoyNews. Rose and Amma shared their views on the situation. Nursing mothers now go to Jessica for medical attention. It is also a worry when your child gets sick. Pregnant women in labor prefer to go to Jessica, which is a worry to us. We urgently need a relief. We don't like the state of the health center. That is why we don't go there. If authorities can get us a new place, we'll be happy. The only response JoyNews got from the Jessican DCE, Lawrence Azian, is that the assembly would inspect the new facility and put it in final shape for use soonest. For Anthony, it would be a great joy to have the new facility completed and handed over to the community for use.
To be very happy to the community that they have handed over this facility, because over 30 years now, we are suffering from health status. Anything that happens, you need to take a motto. Even sometimes, before you reach there, the person will die on the way. What if he's not even ready to die because of the distance from Kute to Jessica? Sometimes, when you reach Jessica, they have to transfer you back to Wawra. Sometimes, when you go to Ayoma, Ayoma is nearby, but the road, you cannot go. When you go to Ayoma, sometimes, they have to take you back to Hohoe. So when the community will hear that, no,
Peter Senu for JoyNews.
To be white on the.
I'm back in the studio. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and that's where we wrap up the curtains on the Pulse. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching.